our podcast today really is to cover 5 mistakes that will ruin your pool water quality. And some of these you may be aware of, some you may not fully understand the implications of, and some might be a little bit controversial. But we have to express that these are our opinions, not specifically those of PewTag or any other body, but a lot of it's based on our experience over the years as well. We'll get into the topic without further ado, I think, Martin. The first thing I wanted to really bring up on this was that operating a swimming pool would be so easy, wouldn't it, if we didn't have any bathers? It would be
beautiful places, mate. Beautiful
places.
It
would, wouldn't it?
If we didn't have the public in and all that, they would be pristine, mate. Absolutely pristine.
Yeah, that's it. So we've got to understand that, unfortunately, our customers are your water quality's worst enemy, really. And allowing sweaty, greasy bathers in the pool is topic number 1. So really I wanted to look at the pollutants that are coming into the pool. And some of the big ones are urea from urine and sweat. We've got body oils, mucus, cosmetics, suntan lotions, moisturizers and hair products, and all this huge range of products that we put on our bodies these days. And if we don't shower, all those are going to end up in the pool and create this huge cocktail of chlorine byproducts. Unfortunately, the worst enemy really is nitrogen or ammonia-based pollutants, and these can form what we call trichloramines, or if you want to be slightly more technical, nitrogen trichloride. And that's a really powerful irritant, and it's very difficult to remove from pool water once it's formed. So it's much easier really to prevent trichloramine from forming in the first place. And I think we've all seen it, haven't we, Martin, that the biggest symptoms of this are stinging eyes, sore throats, and stuff like that. And it's not only affecting bathers, is it? It's pool staff.
Yeah, pool staff as well, your lifeguards, your teachers, all that kind of thing. Everybody's exposed to it. You know, we've heard the old expression, "Oh, it stinks of chlorine in here." But a lot of the time, it's not the actual chlorine. They're actually smelling the byproduct.
Yeah, chlorine gets the blame, unfortunately, for a lot of things. And it's the chlorine, like you say, it's the chlorine byproducts.
Yeah.
And, they're really irritant. And some of these, in recent years, they've discovered that there are certain byproducts that come from chlorine, including one called chloropicrin, which is like nobody's ever heard of until I hadn't heard of it until I read the research. And chloropicrin is actually tear gas.
Yeah.
And that's one of the chlorination byproducts in a swimming pool. It's only in parts per billion, but that's all you need to create a lot of irritation.
Yeah.
So, there's this whole cocktail of chloramine products in a pool.
Yeah.
So we've got to try and control it. So the first thing was to try to encourage people to get their bathers and get their customers to do some pre-swim showering and encourage that as much as possible. This has been promoted by PewTag for quite some time, and we know that even a 1-minute warm shower, which might use 10 litres of water, it's not a lot. And it's enough to wash off a very large percentage of the sweat and bacteria and other compounds and cosmetics and lotions that might be on the body.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, the key thing is with that is that we go back to our basic principle of the cleaner they are going in, the less chemical you're going to use.
Yeah, that's right. And it might seem a lot, and you think, oh, well, everybody's going to have a 1-minute shower in warm water. My electric bill or gas bill is going to go through the roof. Well, what are the options? So if you don't shower before you swim, then the other option is that you've got to dilute that pollution in the pool. And PewTag recommend 30 litres per bather. And we know that's probably the absolute minimum you'd have to do to otherwise counteract the pollution that you've just allowed into the pool.
Yeah. Well, as you and I know as well, that while we're touching on that, as far as our country is concerned, it's 30 litres. If you go to places like Germany and what have you, they don't deem that 30 litres of fresh water is enough, and they're up near 60 litres, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the level of dilution some pools in Europe have to get get their combined chlorine within their sort of regulations or standards. Obviously, that's hugely more expensive than 10 litres of pre-shower.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is once that dirty bather has got into the pool, chlorine byproduct reactions have already started, and it's really difficult to remove them from the water. So it's much easier just not to get the pollution in your pool to start with, I think.
Be proactive, not reactive, Andy.
Yeah, the difficulty is, though, isn't it, is getting people to shower.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a difficult thing in this country, or we're just not promoting it in the right way, maybe. We've got the point of use information posters and things like that we can put in our changing rooms and reception and stuff, haven't we? But, what are the other things that we should be really looking for? It's, I suppose, swimming teachers and supervising school teachers and that thing. A lot of it's going to fall to them.
Well, and as we discussed, we've mentioned Germany before, but in many countries, it's socially unacceptable not to shower.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely know Italy. You've got to wear a swim cap.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to get your hair shed a load of hair in the pool. It's socially unacceptable. So everybody wears a swim cap. That might be going to extremes, but it's just an example. And perhaps here in the UK, we just don't look at it. It should be as socially unacceptable as going to the toilet and not washing your hands. It should be.
I think the other thing is with this country as well, mate, is that we've got a lot of old stock. So in terms of that, in construction design and what have you, if those showers aren't positioned near the entrance to the pool, then the likelihood is people aren't going to use them. So, as we know with new builds and things like that, siting the toilets, siting the showers, encouraging people to do these kind of things before they go into the pool. Some of the changing rooms in our older facilities aren't designed like that. The showers are at the other end of the changing room. Youngsters come in to swim. They're not going to go to the far end of the changing room, to the toilet, or to have a shower. They're going to do what they need to do in your pool, because the pool entrance is closer than the showers and the toilets. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
How are you going to encourage them if they're not positioned in the right place?
That's right. I mean, my father was a manager of a leisure centre in the 70s in Bury, and to get to the pool there, you had to, what they call, run the gauntlet. It was like a small corridor with showers on each side, and you had to go through them.
Yeah.
And, that's just how it was.
And we had the foot baths.
Yeah. You didn't have the choice. You had to get through it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But
you see many people trying to work their way around a foot bath.
Yeah.
It was just physically impossible.
Tiptoeing around. Yeah. Slip and have an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so just going back to the pollutants, the big enemy really is urea, and that is the cause of a lot of the nitrogen trichloride, or the trichloramines as we call them, in pools, the irritating substances. And that's sometimes why you can see when there's a swimming club using a pool, really intensively, that quite a lot of poolside staff particularly and instructors do start to complain about the atmosphere in the pool, and that's because there's a lot of sweat being produced by those swimmers. They're really training hard. They're thrashing the water, which is releasing more trichloramine because it's naturally degassing the water. And so that's one of the symptoms of club use. Sometimes we've noticed that on quite a few sites where they complain that during the swimming period, the conditions have got progressively worse. So really, keeping these pollutants out of the pool is quite critical. Sometimes we can't stop sweating. If they're going to train hard, then there may be a lot of sweating going on, but at least we can stop all the other routes for getting pollution in the pool. And that's a big one.
Yeah, it's not just the competitive swimmers, though. It's general bather load in itself. As soon as your general bather load figures start going up, you got the same issue, haven't you? More splashing, more aeration, etc., etc.
Yeah. And you want to keep your pool temperature as low as you can, as low as is practicable, isn't it, for the type of pool use that you've got. That's always going to help reduce sweat and certain pollution like body oils leaching from the body. So I suppose keeping a reasonable pool temperature is going to help that.
Yeah. And then you're probably going to go on to pH then.
Yeah, we've got to look at the pH as well. We know that pools that operate in the lower end of the scale at 7 to 7.2 are more susceptible to trichloramine production. This is something to consider then. If you have got a pool where irritation and odour is a problem, then perhaps running slightly more towards the 7.4 end of the spectrum might assist you. Something worth trying if irritation is a problem in your pool.
Yeah.
I suppose the other common one, Martin, is UV, isn't it?
Well, that's the one. Yeah. I mean, obviously, in terms of UV, it can reduce trichloramine. But again, you're looking at removal of free chlorine as well, aren't you?
Yeah, again, that's with every treatment, there's a downside. And I think with UV, yes, it can consume quite a lot of chlorine. So if you do consider UV, it's important that you have it sized correctly, because obviously we don't want too much UV transmission going on and destroying all your free chlorine. But, it is worth knowing that if you do use UV for treatment for removal of combined chlorine, you will use more chlorine. Although it says, in literature, you can use a lower residual of free chlorine in your pool, subject to risk assessment, and you will still actually use more physical chlorine. It just burns through it. It's just like an outdoor pool where you've got sunlight, sunlight destroying chlorine. It's exactly the same thing. So, yeah, it's not free, and you've got the energy to power it as well, which might be, in the average 25-meter pool, you might be talking 3 kilowatts or so. So there is an energy cost to it as well. And one of the big myths is that, great, it gets rid of combined chlorine, but as with anything, as with any action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and we've got to remember that. And it's true for UV. And, there is evidence to show that it will get rid of combined chlorine, it will get rid of trichloramines, but there is a risk that it can produce higher levels of what we call THMs. I don't want to go into any big detail on that, but there are harmful substances in there that we don't really want to have accumulating in the pool hall atmosphere. And again, having the UV size correctly to try and reduce all these, negative side effects, it's important. It's not just any old UV system. You really need to think about sizing it correctly.
Yeah.
So I think that covers most of the things on UV that I wanted to point out, really. That you've got to think as well that if the UV system consumes more chlorine, then it's going to increase your pH as well, because you're going to be adding more caustic than you were before you had UV. So your pH corrections demand is going to go up. And also that's going to impact the TDS as well. So those are all things to consider.
Yeah.
I think the final thing on this, we're still on point number 1. It's a big one.
Yeah.
The final.
It is the main one, isn't it?
It is really. The final part of that is using a flocculant dosing system.
PAC.
Exactly.
Polyaluminium chloride.
Such a simple treatment. It's got to be done right. But it's such a simple treatment, and it can remove a lot of the substances, again, organic substances that are in the water that can contribute to form chloramines. So, moving on. Number 2. Item number 2, allowing organic acids and cleaners to get into your pool water. Now, this is a big one, and I had a client recently that wasn't really aware that they were washing cleaning detergents on the pool side, and quite a bit of it was getting into the water. He didn't realise his staff were hosing off quite so liberally, and a lot of that was going into the water, and they were wondering why they had quite poor water quality, or clarity, I should say. And that's because, we just talked about using a flocculant dosing system because we want to use a floc to pull particles together so that the filter can remove it. And then going and adding a detergent or a cleaning product and letting that get into the water, that's going to completely undo everything we've just tried to do,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's vital to know that, that a lot of these cleaning products, they're just dispersants. They're going to disperse grease, and it's going to disperse a flocculant as well, just as easily.
Yeah.
So if you end up getting that in the pool, you've got no protection from crypto, your floc isn't going to work, your filters are not going to capture the dirt and debris. Yeah. But the thing is, for me, which is a bit of an eye-opener, is that I actually did, one day I bumped into a sales rep that was in a leisure centre. I was waiting to see the manager there, and there was a sales rep selling these chemicals, saying, but these are great chemicals, they're environmentally friendly and they break down naturally. Afterwards, when I had a look at what they were just full of detergent, organic acids like citric acid, and that just creates huge amounts of combined chlorine if it gets into the pool water. And all these other chemicals that were in there that were supposedly environmentally breakdown chemicals, and the worst possible stuff you can get in your pool. So really the message here is that if you're going to use something on your pool side to clean it, you should only be using the same chemicals that are approved for pool water treatment. I think that's the one. And the big one is bicarb, isn't it? Really, Martin? Bicarb's a useful one.
Yeah,
particularly.
it is, yeah. I mean, in terms of your tide lines, scum lines, whatever it is, in terms of cleaning them off as well,
Yep.
it's been used for years and years. So,
Yeah.
that's I'm going to have very little impact in terms of your chemistry in your pool water as well. In fact, to a
Yeah.
degree, as you well know, it's probably going to help in terms of alkalinity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And that's another subject we'll come on to later. But yeah, that's it. It'll only aid. It'll only boost the alkalinity, won't it?
Yeah, I think
Particularly.
the key thing is you use the right products.
That's right. I mean, the customer I came across that was looking at these chemicals that I just mentioned, that one of their problems was scale formation. And but in the end of the day, he tried my advice and he just used a very weak acid solution.
Yeah.
And by doing that regularly, scale buildup didn't occur.
Yeah.
And it's always, you can always do it as a more intensive treatment when the pool is closed, for maintenance or whatever. But really, those are the things: weak acid, bicarb, so you can tackle grease and you can tackle scale formation. Those are the two big issues normally, aren't they?
That's right, yeah. It does actually lead on to point 3, what we've just discussed, mate.
Yeah,
Which
neglecting your total alkalinity. So for me, this is a big one, and I always sort of view alkalinity, because it is often neglected. It's only covered very lightly, isn't it, in pool operator courses, really. It doesn't go into a great deal of depth. It's like a cornerstone, if you like, of pool water treatment. Because
I mean, to be honest, we all know this. I mean, we're tutors at the end of the day. It's your buffer, isn't it? You have to have a level of total alkalinity in your water to prevent pH bounce. So you have to have that buffer there. You're looking at the ranges we know between 80 and 200 milligrams per litre or parts per million. And that's the reason that you're doing your balanced water test every week. Part of that equation is your total alkalinity reading. And it's so important that you get your alkalinity levels right.
Yeah. And without it, if you've got low alkalinity, for example, it can cause so many issues. It's going to deliver poor water clarity, really, because your pH is going to be unstable. Therefore, your flocculant's not going to work very well. We really need a stable pH, don't we, in pools to have good disinfection, reliable, fast disinfection.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will be listening to this and realizing as well. We got all the guidance out there in terms of the green zone, the PewTech recommendations on the traffic light system. We're operating our pools at between 7 to 7.4 in that green zone. But even in terms of what we've been discussing in the last half an hour, the be all and end all is that there are some things that will be okay at 7.4. There'll be some things that won't be okay at 7. And it's all those kind of things. And we don't want to really cause confusion either, because the be all and end all to operate your pool from a pH perspective, the green zone is quite clearly 7 to 7.4.
Yeah, that's it. If you can stay in there, and it's a lot easier to stay there if your alkalinity is stable.
Correct.
Yeah, that's it. Having a reasonable alkalinity level in there is really going to keep your pH stable. It's going to allow your flocculant to work, because flocculants will not work well below 80 parts per million, unless you've got some very special blend. So, again, that's going to impact your filter efficiency and your water clarity. It's also worth knowing as an engineer as well. I used to notice, and it's a well-known thing for pool engineers, that if you've got very low alkalinity and it sort of gets to below 40 parts per million, then pH, chlorine, and ORP electrodes don't last very long.
Don't last, no.
No, and it's just because there's no, like you said, there's no buffer in the water. There's a high level of exchange of solution from that reservoir inside the electrode, and it just leaches out of the electrode. So that's a really expensive mistake. Having a low alkalinity, you're going to chew through your pool chlorine and pH sensors a lot more quickly, and they're expensive, aren't they? Anything from a few £100 each upwards. So alkalinity is a cornerstone of water treatment. So it's very worthwhile making sure you keep an eye on that and you keep it controlled.
Right,
Number 4.
Yeah, we're going on to the flocculation now, mate, and making sure that your dosing system is calibrated correctly.
Yep, there are lots of people using flocculants out there, and the general sort of synopsis is, well, you can have a PAC dosing pump and inject some of this stuff at roughly the right rate, and everything's going to be great. You're going to have good water quality. But there's a little bit more science to it than that. And quite often, dosing too much PAC is actually going to cause problems. So I just wanted to highlight this one as well, because if it's not calibrated, if you've not made an effort to try and optimize it, you're really not going to get the maximum benefits out of it. And there are many. You know, if it's dosed correctly, you're going to get protection from your crypto. Yeah. You're going to lower your chlorine consumption. It's going to assist the reduction of combined chlorine if it's efficient. But if you don't do it, if it's not efficient, it can cause other problems. And one of those is dosing too much PAC, and that's just simply going to compact your filter bed.
Yeah, we've got a clarity
impact your filtration,
and we're going to have a clarity issue then, mate, aren't we?
Yeah. So really, how do we do this? How is it done? So it's not widely known, but I do know of a few other pool engineers that are using this method, and it is a good, reliable method, and it's the scientific way to do it. And that is to start off dosing your pool with PAC at the recommended level, which is normally 0.1, 0.2 millilitres for every cubic metre of turnover.
Yeah, per hour. Yeah.
Yeah, per hour. So that's a tiny amount of stuff for most pools. It's like a test tube full of stuff, like 10 mils an hour, maybe less. In a teaching pool, it'll only be something like 4 millilitres an hour. So that's where you start off. And you'll probably see some improvement in the water clarity. But over the length of a week or so, maybe a couple of weeks, that's the longer term test. And what you're looking for really is that you want to dose enough PAC to remove all the pollution that's entering the pool. But we don't want to dose too much, because we'll end up with what we call an aluminium residual in the pool. That's not good, because number one, it'll irritate bathers and it'll waste PAC. So there is a little bit of science in it. So the only way to do that really is to get some tablets from Lovibond or Palantes, and these are aluminium number 1 and aluminium number 2 tablets. And you can use those 2 tablets in a 10 milliliter sample, wait 5 minutes, and you can get a result. Now, how do you measure the result? Okay, you can do it on some photometers.
Very expensive
if you've got a fancy one. Yeah, that's right. The cheap way to do it is to just buy a comparator with a low-range aluminium disc. And, you know, you're probably talking a couple of £100. And you've got yourself an aluminium test kit. And I think it's really important to do it, and to make sure that your aluminium is only just measurable. So typically 0.05 to 0.1 parts per million. That's all we're looking to get in the pool water. If we get any more than that, we want to back off with the PAC dose, because we're just dosing a residual of aluminium. We don't want that. We just want enough product in there to do the job and no more. And it could save you money on your PAC, for example, by doing that. You know you're not going to irritate your bathers. You know your filter's going to work efficiently, and it's not going to blind up because there's too much aluminium. Right. So it's a huge impact, really, and it's something that's not well known. But from a pool engineer's perspective, that's what we do when we commission a PAC system properly. So quite often it might take a week or two, of operation before you would get a reliable test.
And that goes back to the people that are on this as well and listening to this, is the fact that, if you're not in a position whereby you can afford an auto-dosed PAC system, or, they're a couple of grand, aren't they, to be installed. Some people are on tablet forms of flocculation, Goldie Floc, Jolly Gel, whatever it is. But, in terms of that test is still applicable, isn't it? It doesn't matter whether you're manually dosing or you're auto-dosing. You're actually checking the aluminium content within that pool water.
Yeah, you're spot on. That's right. And it's harder to control with tablets, but you could still do a weekly test, and you can get to understand how many of those tablets you can use per week without it pushing the levels over the top. Yeah. Because, aluminium is highly irritating to bathers' eyes. If it gets up to above 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, it's going to really start to irritate people. And I don't think anybody wants to swim around in aluminium either, do we?
No. And the key thing, as you said earlier, I think, is that, it's the compaction of the filter bed as well. By putting too much in, it's going to compact, isn't it?
Yeah. Over a period of time, that could have quite a severe toll on the filter. And we've seen filters being emptied where they've cut a slice out of the old vessel, but just because they're going to rip it out and put a new filter in. They took the side of the vessel out, and the sand is still sat in there.
Yeah.
It's still formed in the shape of the filter.
Yeah.
It's so compacted. And a filter like that is just not going to work. You're going to get dreadful water quality. So something worth thinking about.
Yeah. Last point.
Moving on. Final one. Backwashing your filters too often.
Sand filters, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, this is down to sand filtration. It doesn't really cover other types of filters, but obviously sand filters are still the most common filter used in the country, really. It's a bit of a myth, that some people say, oh, well, I dilute my pool by backwashing, I keep my filter backwashed 2-3 times a week. And we know some pools that are suffering with water quality and that they're backwashing every single day.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, from observing and testing filters over the years, we know that it takes 3 or 4 days for a sand filter bed to fully ripen so that it reaches sort of optimum particle removal performance. If you're backwashing several times a week, that's not going to happen. Your filter's never going to ripen properly, and you'll never get the finest filtration out of your filter. So it's a big disadvantage.
It's a bit of a chicken and egg one, this one, isn't it?
It is, that's right. My answer is that if you're currently backwashing several times a week or more, in many cases it's probably due to some of the other factors that we've just discussed, whether that's alkalinity, whether it's the floc being put in properly. There are lots of other things that can cause you to be backwashing.
Cleaning chemicals, anything.
That's right. So if on the other hand, if you have tried all the other topics that we've just discussed and your pool water quality or clarity is still poor, then it's very likely to be because either the filter bed has been compromised or the filter's simply undersized for the task. And you think about, don't you, Martin, many of the swim schools out there, or perhaps pools that have been converted from domestic pools into swim schools, a lot of them do suffer from this, don't they?
Yeah, they do, mate, because the filter capacity is nowhere near sufficient in order to handle the loads that are going in there. So that's actually not going to affect, if you go through everything that we've just discussed, you could be swimming 200 or 300 over the weekend, Saturday and a Sunday, in a private pool that's got a little dome filter in it. And issues with your pool water are linked to all these things that we've just mentioned, probably.
Yeah. So really the starting point is checking that your filtration area is sized according to the pool capacity and your baler load. Perhaps a lot of people are going to find that maybe the filters aren't. And the other difficulty is having the space to do it as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Having the space to add another filter. Not everybody's got that.
No, it's not so much the private pools either. Even on the commercial side, some of the smaller pools on the commercial side, they've been totally underspec'd in terms of filter size. And in all fairness, it's a headache for the operators. It's a headache for the swim school businesses because solution to pollution is dilution, as we profess on a more regular basis. And the only option that they have got sometimes is to actually backwash on a regular basis. They've just got no other choice, have they? So
no, that's it. You're stuck.
There's no kind of concrete 100%. This is the way that we do it. I mean, all these kind of things are applicable to the plant that you're actually working with on a day-to-day basis.
I think you're right, and it's about getting all the things we've just discussed. It's about doing your best with each of those, isn't it? So that holistically we get a better result, even if your filter is a bit undersized.
Yeah, getting the best performance, getting the best performance that you possibly can out of what you've got. And by all means, we're not saying if you're in a situation where you have to backwash 3 or 4 times a week because of your filter size and what have you, then so be it. Because to a degree, mate, and I think you will agree, is that even by doing that, that is the way to go. If that's the only thing that you can do, backwash 3 or 4 times a week. You got a little dome filter, you got a high baler load. Financially, they might not have space in their plant room to put a bigger filter in. They might not have the capacity to pump in order to actually deliver the water to that filter either. So there's a knock-on effect.
Pipe work.
Pipe work, the whole shebang. And, we sometimes we talk in the ideal world, and that's great. But, we do realise that some people out there have got operational issues right across the board, and we're fully aware of that. But even altering a couple of these 5 points, altering a couple of these or checking on them on a more regular basis might actually result in a bit of better pool water quality.
Yeah, I think so as well, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. Really, there's some interesting developments going on at the minute with filtration, and we might have more options in the future. And one of them is ceramic membrane filtration, which is is very space saving. It's very compact, so that might be an option, for some of these smaller schools and swim schools where plant room space is a premium. They haven't got a lot of real estate, and you can get a lot more filtration capacity when you're using ceramic membrane filters. You can squeeze a lot more into that plant room, and for space saving, it is a good option. And I think, I'm aware that there are systems being developed now that will be able to be used in these smaller pools, and they'll also be more accessible cost-wise as well.
Well, that's been we'll get onto this through the POC, won't we? But in terms of that, we know that a lot of the smaller swimming businesses, there's all been this discussion around the industry in terms of pop-up pools and all that, and insufficient plant and machinery in order to deal with bather loads. But these membrane filters that you're talking about now, we're on it, aren't we? We know that there's an issue out there, but hopefully in the next few months there might be some kind of solution to those kind of issues that we've got out there as well.
Yeah,
they need to keep in touch with the POC for all the updates.
They do indeed. I mean, the final point on these filters, like you say, if you have got a filter that's undersized and you are struggling with it, then it's even more important, isn't it, to get your filter media checked and inspected, and do it perhaps more regularly.
Yeah.
The standard rule is, okay, have a filter inspection every 12 months. But if your filter is compromised and you haven't got enough filtration area, then maybe do it more often. Maybe think about getting it chemically cleaned to get rid of all the fats and body oils that have accumulated. It might have been in there donkey's years, in which case it might need replacing. And, the laterals or the nozzles in the bottom might need replacing. Okay. So it's doing more maintenance on the filters, and keeping on top of it, and taking account of everything that we've said prior to this as well, will hopefully assist you in getting better water quality. And as Martin said, the Pool Operators Club really is a membership club, and it's there to help you optimize your pool water quality. It's there to help you with your compliance, your risk assessments, and everything in the day-to-day operation and management of your facility, isn't it really, Martin?
Yeah, that's what we're there for, mate. And we are obviously aware of the commercial side of it and the big boys in our industry, and we're there for them. But predominantly we're there for the smaller operators, the people, that run the smaller pools, the swimming businesses, the swim school businesses, all that kind of thing. A lot of places where you're even hiring pools as well, and you're not really sure about your plant room, how it's working and what have you, but you're having issues with your water on a regular basis. Hopefully the POC, can give you that opportunity to have a discussion with your pool operator about it. And get them involved in the discussions as well to try and put these issues right. You're never going to cure everything, but if you can, if you can just work to cure, even going technically from sand to glass filter, or as far as your media is concerned, you can see a benefit in that as well, as we well know. So
that's right.
It's all these small things that will just make the whole thing, basically get it to a point whereby we can tackle a few of the smaller points, and hopefully it'll make your pool a bit more operationally safer, and the longevity of it as well, because it's longevity that we're looking for, because, these businesses need to be running for years and years, but if they haven't got the pool capacity and they haven't got the filtration systems that they need, they're not going to last very long. No,
that's right. If customers are not having a good experience, the pool quality is poor, they'll find another pool, won't they? We know that, and it's tough. It's tough. So it's a way to protect your business as well. So I hope everybody's found that useful that's listening. We hope you can utilise some of that information in your own pool, and we'll be back again soon with another topic on the Pool Operators Club. And Martin, thanks for joining up. It's great to see you again, and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, nice to see you, mate. And as I say, any people out there, if you want help, that's what the POC is here for. So good day, everybody, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Cheers.